This guy would have been Einstein's best friend because he sounds much like him in terms of personality. He bitched a lot and cried over spilled milk quite often. That's right. This man is none other than James Watt, a name that might make you think of light bulbs. But nope, wrong guy. This is the story of the man who took Thomas the Choo-Choo steam engines, slapped some innovation on them, and kick-started the Industrial Revolution. But don't get it twisted. James Watt wasn't some superhuman visionary with a flawless track record. He was brilliant, sure, but he was also kind of a perfectionist, complained like he was 5, and spent half his life bitching at inefficient engines. Let's dig into the life of this genius, warts and all. Early life. A sickly kid with a big brain. James Watt was born on January 19, 1736, in Greenock, Scotland, where the people are drunk for breakfast. And if you're wondering, Greenock wasn't exactly a luxury resort town. It was a shitty little port city, much like Port Sarim. His dad, James Watt Sr., was a jack-of-all-trades, shipbuilder, contractor, and occasional know-it-all. His mom, Agnes Muirhead, was highly educated for the time when women weren't shit, and was the true brains behind the family. Sorry, Dad. As a kid, Watt wasn't out climbing trees like the monkey he was or starting childhood rugby leagues. He was sickly, frail, and pretty much stayed home most of the time. So what did he do? He sat around fiddling with tools and disassembling random objects. Because why play outside when you can tear apart furniture? If I came home to torn apart furniture, I would have gone ape shit on his ass. His fragile health meant he didn't get much formal schooling, but honestly, that probably worked in his favor. Who needs school bullies when you've got books, right? The London chapter. Broke and learning fast. At 18, Watt left Scotland for London to apprentice as a mathematical instrument maker. Translation: he made fancy rulers, compasses, and other nerd tools. But Watt didn't exactly waltz into success. He was broke, his health was weak sauce, and life in London was basically him trying to survive while learning his craft. By 1757, he crawled back to Scotland and opened a workshop near the University of Glasgow. Fun fact, he wasn't even allowed to call himself a proper craftsman at first because he didn't finish a 7-year apprenticeship. Glasgow let him stay anyway, probably because he was too smart to kick out. The steam engine, Watt's arch nemesis. Watt's big break came in 1763 when someone handed him a broken Newcomen steam engine to fix. This machine was like the iPhone of its day, clunky, inefficient, and running out of steam, literally. Watt took one look at it and thought, I can do better than this. In 1765, Watt had his light bulb moment, or steam moment. He realized the engine wasted most of its energy heating and cooling the cylinder over and over. His solution? The separate condenser, an addition that made the steam engine way more efficient. Imagine upgrading a horse-drawn cart into a Ferrari. Yeah, it was that big. But here's the kicker. Watt was more of an ideas guy than a hands-on builder. He struggled for years to make a working model because, frankly, tinkering wasn't his strong suit. He also constantly worried that his invention wasn't perfect yet. If Watt lived today, he'd probably spend 12 years beta testing his own app. Enter Matthew Boulton, the ultimate hype man. James Watt's genius needed funding, and along came Matthew Boulton, an entrepreneur with deep pockets and serious business savvy. Boulton was the yin to Watt's neurotic yang. While Watt stressed about every tiny flaw, Boulton told him, just build the fucking thing already. Together, they made a killer team and started cranking out Watt's upgraded steam engines in 1775. Thanks to this partnership, Watt's engine became the go-to power source for factories, mines, and pretty much anything that needed serious muscle. Watt didn't just change one industry, he turbocharged the entire economy with his mid-par engines. Contributions: math nerd meets mechanical genius. Watt wasn't just about steam engines, he was also the guy who gave us the term horsepower. Why? Because apparently explaining engine power in terms of actual numbers wasn't relatable enough to the dumbass people of that time. Instead, he said, this engine can replace X horses. which probably led to some farmers somewhere asking, "But what about donkeys?" He also developed the Watt indicator, a device that measured steam pressure in engines. This was basically an early version of today's digital dashboards. Without it, engineers were flying blind. Oh, and the unit of power, the watt, is named after him, which is pretty baller. Later, life, wealth, fame, and whittling time. By the time he hit his 60s, Watt was rolling in cash, thanks to his engines taking over the industrial world. He retired in 1800 and spent his later years dabbling in random hobbies, like sculpture of men with tiny eggplants and gardening shit that was cheaper to buy at the local market. Because why not? When you've revolutionized the world, carving busts of famous people feels like a decent way to unwind. But even in retirement, Watt couldn't resist tinkering with shit he shouldn't have been. He built his own copying machine because apparently Xerox wasn't around yet. Challenges Watt, the perfectionist. Let's be real. Watt wasn't exactly a chill dude. He was a textbook perfectionist, which made him both brilliant and incredibly frustrating. He once spent 12 years tweaking his steam engine design before he felt it was ready. Meanwhile, the world was like, "We'll take it how it is, Jimmy." He also had a tendency to whine about his 99 problems, like when he complained that inventing was hard and ruined his health. Sure, James, but you also got rich and famous, so maybe ease up on the self-pity. Legacy, the man who powered the world. Despite his quirks, and let's admit it, his occasional whining, Watt's contributions were monumental. His steam engine powered the Industrial Revolution, turning manual labor into machine-driven efficiency. Factories, trains, ships, everything ran on Watt's innovation. His work also pushed engineering and math forward, inspiring advancements in thermodynamics and mechanical design. Modern engineering wouldn't be the same without him. So here's the thing about James Watt. He was a genius, but he was also that one friend who overthinks everything. If you gave him a pizza recipe, he'd spend 10 years perfecting the crust while everyone else starved. But hey, the world needed someone like him to obsess over details, because those details changed history. Now we got home builders making shitty boxes for $500,000 and calling it top-notch craftsmanship. James Watt wasn't perfect, but his genius made up for it. From his humble beginnings in So-So, Scotland to becoming the father of the modern steam engine, Watt's story is a mix of brilliance, anxiety, and perseverance. He may have complained along the way like he was 5, but let's face it, without him, we'd all still be stuck using horses for heavy lifting. Legacy. Watt's influence in the 21st century. James Watt may have taken his final bow in 1819, but his legacy is very much alive today. His steam engine didn't just revolutionize the 18th century, it laid the groundwork for the modern industrialized world. Think about it. The factories producing your smartphones, the trains zipping across continents, and even the power plants keeping your Wi-Fi running all owe a nod to Watt's work. His idea of measuring power in horsepower? Still a thing. Car commercials love to flex about horsepower as if we're all secretly racing each other on farms. And the unit of power? The watt? Yeah, that's literally everywhere. Every time you charge your phone, flick on a light, or check the wattage of your microwave, you're paying homage to Watt. He's basically haunting your electric bill in the best way possible. Even his obsession with efficiency continues to inspire engineers and innovators today. Watt taught us that small tweaks to existing systems can lead to massive improvements. Whether it's streamlining energy use, optimizing machinery, or even making more efficient AI algorithms. His impact stretches far beyond steam engines. It's embedded in the DNA of modern engineering, math, and technology. So, the next time you sit in an air-conditioned room, marvel at a high-speed train, or plug in your gadgets, remember James Watt, the man who turned steam into power and whose genius still powers the world we live in today. Thank you all for tuning in. I'll see you on the next one.